Most people think to stand out in this business, you need to be the first one on top of the story or the person with the loudest voice or the biggest ratings. In truth, to stand out in the news business, you just need to ask the right questions and demand the right answers.
Welcome back, everybody, to the next edition of iNN's TweetLine Plus. TweetLine Plus. Oh, here we go again. We're going for our next episode, and we're going to try to do more of these. I'm going to try to keep them to a half hour. I'm not going to do the hour-long thing they did before, because there's going to be another show called Headlines and Beyond coming that's going to do the hour-long analysis. This is going to be a shorter one. And tonight we're talking about, well, this episode we're talking about the Jill Stein recount. And this is why I like watching a lot of the opposition. The thing came together for me as I collected a lot of different videos on the topic, on the recount that's going on from Jill Stein. And you have hemming and hawing back and forth, and what hits home for me is when you have two good sources on the left of the progressives who don't necessarily like Hillary Clinton, but now start coming into the fold more. In other words, you start seeing a progressive is always going to be a progressive. At some point in time, they're going to fold in. They're going to become part of the narrative in terms of the establishment narrative. And you got to remember that the socialism is the established narrative. It's been like this for a long time. The UN is a socialist establishment, and the whole purpose of the UN is to initialize and to create a single socialist global government. This is why you look at all the programs; they're all socialists there. And so it doesn't matter if Hillary Clinton is the face or somebody else, or like Jill Stein is the face. But you'll see what's happening. You'll see sort of how this comes about. And this is sort of one of the guys to go to. He wasn't necessarily a supporter of Trump, but he was anti-Hillary Clinton. So, and he's the one who actually pointed out some of the fixes during the Ben Stein race. Bernie Sanders, when Bernie Sanders ran during the primary, he pointed out a lot of the voter fraud, and we're showing how bad Clinton was. But now he's kind of on the fence. I'll let you hear him in his own voice, in his own words. I'll let him explain.
My name is H.A. Goodman, and I'm an author, columnist, and journalist. And to read my writing and to see my latest CNN appearances and my MSNBC and RT appearances, you can go to hagoodman.com. There's a link to Dr. Jill Stein's recount fundraising. I'm just playing around to my amazing subscribers. I know that many subscribers that I have, even a lot of people who are progressive, are not thrilled with Dr. Stein's recount. In fact, just today, what do we have here? It's a CNN article. Clinton joins recount that Trump calls scam. Okay, so Trump is very upset. I know that Trump supporters are upset. The big issue here is this. Jill Stein's recount, number one, is not limited to only Wisconsin. So people are saying, well, how come she doesn't recount states that Hillary won by a small margin? Not limited to Wisconsin. Today, Dr. Stein stated on her Twitter account, I will get to that in just 1 second. I will do a recount in any state where the deadline is not passed. Help my staff find state deadlines. Recount 2016. So number one, she'll do a recount in states that she wants to do a recount in states that Hillary barely won. Number two, and this is for the Trump voters or Trump supporters who are watching this channel. I say this with all due respect, and I appreciate you watching my channel. This will not give Hillary Clinton the election. Now, of course, there's a chance for anything. There's a chance that this recount...
There you go. So, well, and of course, Jill Stein when she did file for the thing, she's only filing, because this is where the money is, she's only filing for Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, the swing states there. And this is what happens. This was done a little earlier. The updates have shown that Jill Stein, the sort of random lump of matter, a random lump of mass called Jill Stein, is actually working with Clinton now. That has become more and more clear. But here's Jesse Ventura. This is November 24th. He voted for Jill Stein, supports her. So we'll see what he has to say here. He's talking to Alex Jones.
Jesse Ventura, I mean, look at what Dave Chappelle said. When it's so fashionable to bash Trump, except in the voting booth, what do you make of Dave Chappelle's idea of let's give Donald Trump a chance?
Well, certainly you have to do that. The problem is he's all over the board. He says one thing one day and then says the opposite thing 2 weeks later sometimes. And that's what makes you not know where exactly is he. But certainly he deserves to step back. He's our new president. What I'm more concerned about, Alex, do you want the truth?
Sure.
And this has nothing to do with Democrat or Republican, but this is 2 times now in 16 years that the person that's gotten the most votes doesn't win.
Sure, Electoral College.
I don't like the Electoral College because this is twice now in 16 years where the person that got the most votes loses. No other election in America can you get the most votes and lose, except that
And so they're talking about the votes. And people are now saying it's become obvious that Hillary Clinton won the popular vote. Well, not really. They're stating it, and this is what you're hearing from Jesse Ventura. It's odd that she won the popular vote. How can you win the popular vote and then lose the election? Because you didn't win the popular vote. And they've been showing that the polls have been wrong, that the pollsters are wrong, that the survey taking that sort of determines the statistics is wrong. And they've also shown that there was a significant amount of vote rigging on Hillary's part. That she's done this throughout the entire election cycle. So you can't count on the numbers. The numbers that they're talking about are insignificant now, because even if it's a tie, if Hillary is on the record and has a record of rigging these elections, and they did attempt to do this, even in places where she has a tie, we don't know if that's definitely a tie, because she may have cheated. And we do know that they were cheating with paper ballots. They weren't cheating necessarily just at the with the electronic voting. They were cheating also with the paper ballots. So the thing is these votes are not qualified. There's no way to go back in and qualify. Well, how many dead people were on the voter rolls? How many illegal immigrants who are not citizens voted? This is the whole thing here. How many people voted more than once under more than one name? And there have been reports like this. And so what happens when we talk about, Jill Stein wants a vote, and Jesse Ventura is talking about the Electoral College. How does somebody win the popular vote but lose the election? Simple, because they rigged the election. Their so-called popular win is done by fraudulent, and that means there's something wrong with the numbers, that somebody particularly created fraud in there, and you have to investigate the entire thing, not just state by state. If they're saying, there's something wrong with the numbers aren't really sort of jiving together, well then, yeah, you're gonna have to look at things state by state. You have to go through and review the entire election process. Not just be selective about it. And this is what's happening, is that they're talking about, the system is broken. Okay. If the system is broken, approach Donald Trump as his president and say, let's put in an election commission to find out what happened. What's been going wrong? Who's been rigging the votes? Who hasn't been rigging the votes? Let's look at the history of this. Let's do an investigation. Not at all. They're going for the specific states where Donald Trump won. And so this is where you're starting to see the lie unfold. You're starting to see they're trying to reason the way. And here it is, a guy who stands up and says he's alternative is Jesse Ventura. He says he's voted for Jill Stein. He says that we have to sort of, work on the environment. That there's something wrong with that we have a massive problem. And I'm just going to go try to find it. So I'll be back in 2 minutes. Let me try to find this, see if it's in this one here or maybe in another event. But he was talking with Alex Jones about the environment, about these different things. And I'll see if I can find it. And if I can find it, I'll come back. Well, I'll come back either way and finish up our discussion here. So we can keep this a little bit shorter. So, but I don't want to be feeling around while I'm on the camera. So.
Provoke, inform, and change. We deal with issues that other networks won't.
Alrighty. I found the quote. I found the part that I've been looking for, and here we go.
In my experience, at least being a company owner, people that have been doing their own thing usually do their own thing.
Well, like I said, unfair to ask me right now, Alex. I want to give him a year. Let's give him a year in office, and I want to see who he appoints.
Well, I actually agree with that, because they're already trying to claim that, he's not getting enough insiders in, so he's this big failure and he's in disarray when he's not. Or he goes to dinner without the press corps, and they say that he's broken protocol. Thank God he's breaking protocols. I don't want him to do that.
You know what? See, that's all the crap I don't even pay attention to. To me, that's the nonsense news, that's the National Enquirer news that our mainstream media now purports as being important to us, when it's not. I don't care when Donald goes to dinner. I don't care about any of those things. What I care about is what is our relationship going to be with Russia? How are we going to handle it? The reason I voted for Dr. Stein, I'll tell you why. I went with the Green Party, because she fulfilled my top three. My top three were getting out of the Middle Eastern wars, ending the war on drugs, and starting a war on climate change.
Well, to be fair, we interviewed her, and I agree with two of those three. She said, look, if you don't vote for me, vote for Trump, because Hillary wants World War III. I mean, anybody who was honest said Trump was better just because of that.
Well, I don't know any of those quotes. I didn't hear the show or anything like that. That also worries me, though. Trump's supposedly going to put a guy in charge of the EPA that doesn't think we're polluting at all.
Jesse, this is where the rubber. We're going to break one more segment with you. I'm going to talk about your book in the final segment. But just let me throw this at you. I get that humans are doing GMO and toxic waste dumping and real problems. A carbon tax is on carbon dioxide that the plants breathe. It only shuts off our power plants, Governor. It's not.
The thing is, though, here's the deal, Alex. It's this simple. Scientific fact, undisputable, can't be denied. The more carbon there is in the air, the higher the temperatures will be.
This is not true. This is something being put out by the UN. This is something being put out by a group of people who are the establishment. And Jill Stein is behind this as well. Jesse Ventura is establishment. He's saying he's not establishment, but he's establishment. He's got that line there, because what are the UN policies on climate change? Human beings are the problem. And one of the problems that they're talking about is overpopulation, and then how they need to get rid of X number of people. In other words, it's called thinning their herd, culling the human animal. This is it. The socialists don't believe in the human being. They believe in the human animal. So in other words, they're dehumanizing people. They're dehumanizing humans and bringing them down to the levels of an animal, so they can cull the population and say, okay, this is a population control issue. This is an area for saving the planet. And the thing is, the fact is not that there is no scientific fact that the carbon temperatures are rising. That carbon actually has a correlation with temperature. It doesn't. Carbon dioxide was not significantly high during the Jurassic period, during the time of the dinosaurs. And the thing is that what's happened, they've done the drilling, they've done the isotopic analysis of the the rock layers to see what the amount of carbon dioxide in the air was, and it's not there. The carbon dioxide is about this whole thing about carbon dioxide and climate change is a myth. It's not real. And the thing is that this is where Jesse Ventura doesn't seem to understand, and he's falling in with a lot of these UN people. He's falling in with these socialist globalists, and so he's now part of the machine. And you can see this here, that he's part of the machine. Alex Jones has his own bent on the machine, because he comes in from a different standpoint. He comes in from a religious standpoint, from the so-called ecumenical standpoint. And the ecumenical standpoint is the joining of religions into one world religion, where all gods are the same God. It doesn't matter what you believe in as long as you believe in God. And you see the Pope having these ecumenical prayer services where he's inviting Buddhists over. There's the Muslim imam up there. There's all the religions of the world are represented with the papacy. Well, this is also, ironically enough, all within the one world government, the one world religion. This is part of the establishment. This is part of where the UN wants to go with things. So these groups are all participating, and this is where Alex Jones is on. He's on that religious side of things. Even though he's on the right, so he's on the right in terms of the alternative news. Yeah, he's on the right of things, where Jesse Ventura is on the left. And this is the same thing with H.A. Goodman. These are people who are all part of the establishment. And ironically, as I said, the socialist establishment, the goal for the UN, if you go into the history of the UN, is to dehumanize. It's about global control. It's about the single world government. It's about, actually, communism. And the thing is, the things that are going to happen afterwards, after they seize control, these people aren't going to be happy. And this is where you see, it's after the control, it's after the good times, it's after the rhetoric, that you have the purges. Where you have internment camps, where you have death camps, getting rid of the people who can't be properly re-educated. Anyone who doesn't agree with their ideas, they're re-educated. I mean, all you have to do is look at what the Hillary supporters have been doing. Look at the protests in the streets. Look at how they attack even homeless people. And this is what I'm saying about people like Sheikh Carl. And I know, and this is he's not out of the usual. A lot of people are apolitical, and then they decide to take a polite step and say, "Oh, we don't want to offend Muslims. We don't want to, And so he takes the position of Hillary Clinton that things are going to be nice. That these are nice people. Well, are nice people involved in pedophilia? Are they involved in satanic rituals? And if you do enough of the research on there, you'll find exactly that she is indeed involved in satanic rituals. There's enough evidence to support this. But of course, they don't believe they're not doing satanic rituals. They're there in ushering a new age. Go do the research behind the whole thing on the UN, and they believe that they're hastening the evolution of man, right, to the next level. This is what progressivism is all about. The progressive movement, which is a socialist movement, is about evolving man to the next level and getting rid of the people who don't fit in to this particular mold. And then they're going to get rid of people who don't fit the evolution model that they're proposing. They're going to execute them. They're going to eliminate them. They're now dehumanizing them so that they're now animals, and then they're going to start culling them. They're going to start mowing the grass and getting rid of the people they don't want. And this has always happened after a communist government has come in. They've gone in and they've wiped out the people they don't want. The people who oppose them, the people who don't think like them. This is what happened in the Soviet Union. This is what happened in Pol Pot's Khmer Rouge. In Cambodia, look at any of the history. This happened in Cuba. This happened in a lot of the South American revolutions. This happened in Greece when they had a communist revolution in Greece. And then, of course, they had the military junta afterwards, and they came in, went the opposite way. Right, left, doesn't matter if it's socialists. If they're socialists, they're going to wipe people out. This is what they do. And so what happens is, and this is what I'm talking about, is that you have to really dig into history, and I will be doing this more in the headlines and beyond, going into the whole structure of the UN and how the UN is the globalist environment, and that people like Jesse Ventura, Jill Stein, will end up leading back to Hillary Clinton because they support the progressive globalist view. And anyone who does support this progressive globalist view will lead back to someone who's like Hillary Clinton. They're not going to do the leading, but they're going to elect someone like Hillary Clinton because she is the person who is going to move these things forward. She is the one who is approved by the UN. She's the higher up. She is the elite. And if you go in and start studying the documents in terms of how they choose the elite, you'll see exactly how they get in there. And this includes pedophilia. I mean, I don't see how progressive being helping humanity succeed and evolve on the next level. I don't see how raping a child accomplishes this. Look at the history of socialism. Look at the history of what they've done. I don't see anything progressive with socialism. That's real progress. But these people believe it. And this is indoctrination. And you'll see that from Jesse Ventura to H.A. Goodman to Lionel LeBron, Lionel Nation, these people have all bought in to some degree into the progressive mindset, the progressive indoctrination, that they are right and their views are right. And they have a hard time when it's challenged. And you see people struggling with this stuff. Anyways, I hope that Donald Trump is not overthrown, as it could be. We won't know until basically until January to what actually happens. So as many people say your prayers, because things could get really bad if we don't. Because the globalists do want a war. They do want a war that will cull the human population, because that's what happens during war. When you have more wars, you have more people die, and that's the culling of the human species, right? The human animal. And this is why I call these people, because they don't believe in God, they believe in aliens and stuff like that, and that they don't believe in gender, they don't believe in anything. So if this is the case here, I call them random lumps of matter, because scientifically speaking, that's what they are. If everything is random, or our solar system is a mistake, we are a mistake, a random occurrence, it's sort of a chance thing, there's no fundamental God who designed everything, then everything is still random. And so they are random lumps of matter who are called Jesse Ventura, Jill Stein, Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, that's what they are. They're random lumps of matter. So if this is your perspective, that's how you line up. And that's the whole thing of the random lumps of matter. Anyways, hopefully this isn't too long, and I will see you in the next episode of INN's TweetLines Plus. Alrighty, take it easy.
INN. Provoke, inform, and change. We deal with issues that other networks won't.
Welcome to the library, and I am the librarian.
I am the professor. And professor of what? Professor of physics.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light?
Free speech rules here at Democratic Earth.